Hello Year 3, Mrs Nasuku here with another inquiry lesson for you. Today we're on to lesson 15 and we're going to be exploring art history, and you're going to become artists and historians in this lesson. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you now so that we can get started. Okay then. Right, it's really important that you've got a rubber and a pencil ready for today's lesson. So if you haven't got that now, you can pause the video and go and get it. If you don't have a rubber at home, you might want to move on to the next inquiry lesson and come back to this one when you've got a rubber. You can collect a rubber from school the next time you go and collect your work pack, or you might have already got one at home. So if you find one, you do need one for today's lesson. Okay, right, let's get started. So I'm going to be telling you about the artist Rembrandt. I'm going to say the name and then you're going to say it. Rembrandt. And that's his name. You're going to be drawing a portrait and you're going to be using a rubber to draw your portrait. You're going to be using your rubber softly and heavily to make light and dark tone marks on your portrait. And by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to tell me the names of at least 2 of the paintings that he's done. And you'll be able to tell me 2 interesting facts about Rembrandt's life. And you will be able to share something interesting about his work. Okay. So here we are, Rembrandt. We've already said his name. That's a little cartoon picture of him. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about him. So you need to listen carefully because at the end we're going to have a little quiz to see how much you have remembered. So he lived from 1606 to 1669. Okay, so that was 400 years ago he was alive, and he was Dutch. So that means that he was from Holland. That's the country that he lived in, Holland. And if you're from Holland, you are Dutch. Off we go then. You can read along with me if you want to. Although Rembrandt made prints, he was very famous for the portraits and the Bible stories he painted. At the time that Rembrandt lived, there were many very talented artists in Holland, so he must have been very special to have stood out beyond the rest. He had a very good reputation as an artist where he lived, but he made himself unpopular. So he made it so that people didn't like him very much because he preferred to paint ordinary, poor people who modelled for him. This was criticised by the rich people. They said they didn't like that, who thought about buying his paintings. They didn't want to look at pictures of poor people. In Rembrandt's portraits, the nose is usually the point that divides the light part of the painting from the dark part. The nose is usually bright and obvious. He liked to show spots of brightness and pockets of deep darkness. Another thing that Rembrandt was particularly good at was showing human emotions. So he was able to show the feelings that people had through his art. It is easy to understand what his characters are thinking because their faces show this so clearly. Okay, so we're going to be having a look at some paintings now, and you just need to be answering the questions that I'll read out to you. You don't need to write these answers down in your book. They're thinking questions, okay? So off we go. This is the first picture that we're looking at. Okay, and the name of the picture is Lady with a Plume, and it's by Rembrandt, and this was painted in 1636. So what can you see in the picture? How many different colours can you see? What can you tell about the people in the painting? Well, there's a person in this painting. How has the artist used light patches and dark patches in the painting? Does a nose separate the dark part from the light part of the picture? Why do you think the artist painted the picture? Okay, so you can pause the video here and think about those questions. And remember, this painting was called Lady with a Plume. Now we're going to move on to the next painting. You can see the name there at the bottom of the screen. Young Man Smiling. That's the name of the painting. And once again, we're going to answer these questions. What can you see in the picture? How many different colours can you see? What can you tell about the people in the painting, or the person in this painting? What can you tell about him from looking at the picture? How has the artist used light patches and dark patches in the painting? Does a nose separate the dark part from the light part of the picture? Why do you think the artist painted this picture? Why do you think he's painted the picture of the young man smiling? So if you want to have a think a bit more about these questions, you can pause the video here. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Right then, this painting is called The Night Watch, and it was painted in 1640. Once again, what can you see in the picture? How many different colours can you see? What can you tell about the people in the painting? Do you think they look happy? Do you think they look sad? What do you think they're doing? How has the artist used light patches and dark patches in the painting? Does a nose separate the dark part from the light part of the picture? Can you see people's noses? Quite strong noses, quite standing out on the painting. And why do you think the artist painted this picture? So remember, this one is called The Night Watch. Okay, this one is called Jeremiah Lamenting the Destruction of Jerusalem. And this was done in 1630. Once again, what can you see in the picture? How many different colours can you see? What can you tell about the people, this person, in the painting from having a look at it? What do you know? How has the artist used light patches and dark patches in the painting? Does a nose separate the dark part from the light part of the picture? In this one, I think that it's his forehead that's standing out. Can you see that it's quite a bright forehead? And why do you think the artist painted the picture? Okay. We've got one more. This is our last one to have a look at. And this one is called Martin Lutin. And this was done in 1632. So remember, we've already found out that Rembrandt liked painting poor people. So we can consider this, we can think about this. About when we think about Martin Lutin, do we think that he might be a rich man? Or do you think he might be a poor man? So what can you see in the picture? How many different colours can you see? I don't think I can see very many colours in this picture. What can you tell about the person in this painting? What do you know about him from looking at him? How has the artist used light patches and dark patches in the painting? Does a nose separate the dark part from the light part of the picture? And why do you think the artist painted this picture? Why do you think he's painted Martin Lutin? Okay, there we are. We've had a good look at some of our artists' paintings. Can you remember the name of our artist? It's there at the bottom of the screen. Rembrandt. I'll say it. Rembrandt. You say it? Good. Right then, today we're going to be thinking about creating tone, and you're going to become artists. Okay, and I've done an example for you, and you're going to be drawing light patches and dark patches on your paper. So what you'll be doing first of all is you'll cover your A4 paper with pencil and leave no white spaces. Don't press too hard or it will be difficult to rub out. Okay? Think like an artist. Rembrandt managed to show light and dark in his paintings very clearly. And we're going to be seeing if you can do that too. Now in your home learning pack, you should have a page that looks like this, which is where you've clicked and followed the link to this lesson. And that's where you can do your shading today. So when I said to shade in your paper, I mean shade inside that border. Okay. If you haven't got that page, that's fine. You can just find any blank paper and do your picture on any blank paper if you want to. So here are your instructions, and you can pause the video after I've explained what to do. The first thing you need to do is shade in your whole page using a pencil. It should go from darker at the top to lighter at the bottom. So can you see there on my example? I've got darker shading at the top, and as the page goes down and down and down, it's much lighter at the bottom. So you can pause the video now and shade in your paper. Okay, right then, if you haven't paused the video, do that now. You should have a shaded piece of paper now, and we're ready for part 2. You need to use a rubber to start drawing the features of your face. So what you're going to be doing is rubbing out the penciled shaded background to be able to see the picture, to be able to draw your portrait. So you can see I've drawn my nose there. I've got a pointy nose, and I've done that right in the middle of the page where the darker tones fade into the lighter tones, and my nose is going to stand out in my portrait. And so when you do yours too, try to use the corner of your rubber, or if you've got a small rubber, you can use a small rubber, and you're going to draw your nose to start with. Pause the video here to do step 2. Okay, we're ready for step 3 now. You then need to use your rubber to rub out more of the background and show more features. So I started with my nose and I put some eyes and a mouth. You can take a lot of care over this. You can make it look really good and really detailed, but it is a bit tricky with a rubber. So don't worry too much. If you make a mistake, you can just shade that bit in again on top and rub it out again. Right then, number 3, adding more features. Pause the video and do that here. Now we're ready for step 4. And then you just keep going and you're going to add more and more to your portrait using the rubber. I've added eyebrows, I've added my hair. You can see the outline of my face. And it might look a bit funny, it might look a bit silly, but that's okay. You can just have a go at doing this backwards portrait. So usually we would draw using a pencil and rub out using a rubber, but this time we've got our background ready with the pencil and we're doing our drawing with the rubber. Okay, so you can pause the video now. It doesn't need to look like mine, but you're doing a portrait. It could be of you or it could be someone in your family, so don't worry too much. if you've had a go and you don't like how it looks on your home learning pack, you can always have a go with another spare piece of paper. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so there's my finished one. I think that I rushed mine a little bit, and I think that you could do a bit more detail than I've done, but just have a go. There's no right or wrong with art. It's just about trying and having a go with it. Right then. Remember Rembrandt, that was the name of our artist, and I'm going to ask you 5 questions now about Rembrandt to see how much you remember about the Dutch artist. Okay, so if you haven't quite finished your portrait, you can pause the video and do that now, and then you can move on to our little quiz. So if you're ready to carry on with the video, we're going to start the quiz. You can write down your answers in your writing book. Remember, in the back you're doing your inquiry. Don't forget to write a date and a WALT at the top of your work. And get ready. Question number 1. Where did Rembrandt live? Okay, which country did he live in? Which country did he come from? Okay, write down your answer. If you want to pause the video here, if you want a bit more time, you can have that. We're moving on to question 2. Why is the nose so important in Rembrandt's paintings? Okay, so it told us at the beginning why he always liked to draw noses, and why he thought they were important in his paintings, what was so special about the nose. So why is the nose so important in Rembrandt's paintings? Pause the video here now and write your answer for question 2. Question 3. How long ago did Rembrandt live? Okay, was it 100 years ago, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000? Tell me how many years ago he lived. Write your answer for question 3. If you haven't finished yet, pause the video. We'll move on to question 4. Okay, who did Rembrandt prefer to paint? Did he prefer to paint rich people or poor people? Okay, write your answer if you want to pause the video to have more time. That's okay. We'll move on to question 5. Which do you think is Rembrandt's best paintings? Which is his best painting from the ones you have seen today? Okay, which is his best painting from the ones you've seen today? And you can always rewind the video if you want to look at the names of them again, or you might want to just describe which one it is that you liked if you can't remember the name. Pause the video if you want to finish question 5 if you haven't already. Otherwise, we're ready for the answers. Okay. Where did Rembrandt live? He lived in Holland. Okay. If you've written that he was Dutch, I'll accept that answer as well. So he was from Holland, he lived in Holland, well, he was Dutch. Number 2. Why is the nose important in Rembrandt's paintings? In Rembrandt's paintings, the nose is usually the point that divides the light part of the painting from the dark part. Okay, so it's usually about halfway down the page, and the nose is usually bright and obvious. Okay, so if you said something about the tone or the shading and how he liked to draw the noses in the middle of the page, I'll accept your answer. Number 3. How long ago did Rembrandt live? It was 400 years ago. Question 4. Who did he prefer to paint? Was it rich people or poor people? He preferred to paint ordinary poor people who modelled for him. And if you remember at the beginning, I was saying that the rich people didn't really like that. They said, no, we don't want to have paintings of poor people. They liked having paintings of rich people. And question 5, which do you think is Rembrandt's best painting? Well, there's no right answer for that one because you're allowed your own opinion. What I think his best painting might be, you might think it's a different one because art is all up to you. Whatever you like or what somebody else likes is totally different, then that's fine. It's just whatever you like is okay. Right then, well done everyone. That's the end of your lesson. Don't forget to send pictures of your work along with your maths and English learning from today to your class teacher. We can't wait to see some of your rubbing out portraits and to see how you got on in the quiz too. All right then, bye everyone. We'll see you next week for another lesson. And hope you're all okay. We're missing you lots and lots, but keep working hard. Bye.